Why no one knows Leonor's partner. If you've spent any time in the corners of the internet that cover Princess Leonor of Spain, you've probably run into at least one of these claims. That she's secretly dating the Barcelona footballer Gavi. That she has a long-term boyfriend named Gabriel, sometimes described as Brazilian, sometimes quietly swapped out for Prince Gabriel of Belgium, who is a real person but has no documented connection to her at all. That there's a mystery man named Jose Navarro. That there was a secret high school romance stretching back to when she was 15. Search her name and the word boyfriend, and you'll find dozens of videos, blog posts, and slideshow articles, all confident, all detailed, and all citing absolutely nothing you could call a source. No interview. No photograph that holds up to scrutiny. No statement from the royal household, denying or confirming. That last part is the real story. Not which rumor is true, because none of them appear to be. The real story is the machine that keeps producing them, and the wall on the other side that keeps refusing to answer. Today we're going to walk through both. Why the public genuinely does not know whether Leonor is in a relationship, why the palace has almost certainly made a deliberate choice to keep it that way, and why that vacuum has turned into one of the most reliable content mills in the entire royal media ecosystem. Let's start with what we actually know, because it's a shorter list than you'd think. Leonor was born on the 31st of October, 2005, which makes her 20 years old as of this recording. She has never had an official, verified relationship. She does not run a personal Instagram, TikTok, or any public social media account under her own name, a decision multiple royal commentators have described as deliberate rather than incidental. Every account claiming to be hers is either a fan page or an impersonator. The royal household's official channels, the Casa de Su Majestad El Rey website and its verified social accounts, cover her military service, her academic path, and her public engagements. They do not cover her personal life, and they never have. That's not unusual for a monarchy on its own. Most royal households control the flow of information about family members' private lives to some degree. What's unusual is how total the silence is here, especially compared to how the same institution handles other parts of her life. When Leonor finished her 3-branch military training in the summer of 2026, the palace didn't just confirm it, they built a whole media rollout around it. Official photographs. A live-streamed graduation ceremony at the General Air Academy in San Javier on July 10, 2026. Statements from the Ministry of Defense. When she was awarded the Grand Cross of Aeronautical Merit shortly afterward, that was documented too, formally, on the record, with imagery released by the royal household itself. When her enrollment at Carlos III University for a degree in political science was confirmed for September 2026, that was announced as well. The palace is not shy about her achievements. It is specifically, consistently, almost surgically silent about one subject: who she might be seeing. That contrast is the first clue that this isn't an accident of privacy in general. It's a targeted strategy around one particular category of information. So the question worth asking isn't, why don't we know, it's, why has the royal household decided this is the one thing they will not let out? To answer that, it helps to look at what happens when a member of this family's personal life does leak, even partially. In 2024, when Leonor was 18 and midway through her military training in Zaragoza, Spanish media outlets published photographs of her out in the city in the evenings, going to restaurants, walking around, visiting nightclubs like any other young adult her age would. These weren't scandalous images. They showed a teenager doing completely normal things. But according to reporting from Spanish outlets at the time, the images caused real concern inside the palace. Sources described King Felipe personally speaking to his daughter about being more careful in her free time, not because anything improper had happened, but because the mere existence of candid, unscripted photographs of the future queen was treated as a risk in itself. The royal household reportedly increased her security specifically to reduce the odds of more images like that circulating. Sit with that for a second. It wasn't a boyfriend scandal. It wasn't a scandal of any kind. It was ordinary photographs of an ordinary night out, and the response from the institution around her was to tighten control. If that's the reaction to nightlife photos, you can extrapolate what the reaction would be to a real, confirmed, documented relationship. Every dinner would be tracked. Every arrival and departure timed. Every gift, every glance, every group photo cropped and recirculated with a caption implying more than it shows. For a woman who is constitutionally guaranteed to become head of state, a public relationship isn't just gossip fodder, it's a permanent character in the national story, discussed in parliament-adjacent commentary, picked apart for political implications, weighed against the standards set by her parents' own courtship. And that brings us to the second layer of context that explains the silence: precedent. This isn't the first time the Spanish royal family has handled a courtship by simply not talking about it until they were ready. King Felipe and Queen Letitia's relationship, before their engagement was announced in 2003, was kept almost entirely out of public view. Felipe was Spain's most eligible bachelor for over a decade, endlessly rumored to be involved with one woman or another, most of it speculation, some of it flatly wrong. The actual relationship with Letizia, a divorced television journalist who would go on to reshape the monarchy's relationship with the press, was managed with total discretion until the palace was ready to make the announcement on its own terms. When it came as a fully formed story: engagement, wedding date, official portraits, no messy period of tabloid negotiation in between. That's the model. Spanish royal courtships, at least in the modern era, don't get revealed piece by piece through leaked photos and unnamed sources. They get revealed once, formally, when the family has decided the relationship is serious enough and secure enough to withstand the scrutiny that comes with confirmation. Everything before that point stays sealed. If Leonor is following any version of that same playbook, and there's good reason to think she is, then what we're actually witnessing isn't the absence of a love life. It's the deliberate withholding of one, whether or not there's currently anyone to withhold. There's also a piece of this that's specific to Leonor's position that didn't apply in quite the same way to her father. Felipe was the heir, but he had decades before he needed to think about the constitutional mechanics of marriage as head of state. Leonor has already been publicly discussed in that context, thanks to Article 57 of the Spanish Constitution, specifically the clause that allows the Cortes Generales, Spain's parliament, to formally object to a marriage the reigning monarch or heir intends to enter, and in the most serious cases, to remove that person and their descendants from the line of succession entirely. That mechanism has never actually been used. It exists as a safeguard, not a tool anyone expects to be triggered. But its mere existence changes the stakes of any future relationship Leonor has. It's not just a personal decision, it's one that technically intersects with constitutional process. Every serious relationship she eventually has will, at some point, become a matter of state in a way that has no real equivalent for private citizens, or even for most other public figures. Given that, total silence in the meantime isn't strange. It's arguably the only rational strategy. Confirm nothing prematurely, let no relationship become public before it's stable enough to survive the political and media weight that confirmation would bring, and give the family maximum room to manage the announcement, if and when there is one, entirely on their own terms. Now let's turn to the other half of this story, because the silence from Zarzuela is only half of what's happening. The other half is the machine that's rushed in to fill it. Here's the thing about a total information vacuum around a genuinely famous person: it doesn't stay empty. It gets filled, constantly, by people who have every incentive to fill it and zero obligation to be accurate. Search Leonor's name alongside the word boyfriend and you'll find an entire ecosystem of TikTok accounts, aggregator blogs, and slideshow-style celebrity sites, all producing content with headlines like, "Princess Leonor's boyfriend revealed," or, "The real story behind Leonor's secret romance." Open them, and the pattern is almost always identical. Confident, specific-sounding claims. Zero named sources. No verifiable event, photograph, or statement anywhere in the piece. Often the same paragraphs, nearly word for word, republished across multiple sites months apart, just with the byline changed. Take the Gavi rumor. Pablo Gomez, known as Gavi, is a real, prominent footballer for Barcelona and the Spanish national team, and he was genuinely in the same stadium box as much of Spanish society during Spain's run to the 2026 World Cup title. Leonor did attend that final in her capacity representing the Spanish royal family, alongside other dignitaries, which is a matter of public record. Somewhere between, both were present at a major national sporting event, and secret romance, an entire content genre was born, complete with fan-edit videos, imagined dialogue, and claims about future children that nobody involved has ever said. There is no reporting, from any outlet with editorial standards, connecting the two beyond that shared public appearance. Then there's the Gabriel storyline, which is a genuinely interesting case study in how misinformation compounds. There is a real Prince Gabriel of Belgium, second in line to the Belgian throne. He has no documented relationship with Leonor whatsoever. But alongside that name, you'll also find claims about a separate, unrelated, Gabriel, sometimes described as a Brazilian schoolmate from her time at United World College in Wales. Two different unverified claims, sharing one first name, have started blending into each other across TikTok captions and slideshow articles, to the point where some content now conflates a real Belgian prince with an entirely fictional Brazilian classmate, as if they're the same rumor. Neither claim has ever had a named source. Neither has ever been addressed by the royal household. And now they're tangled together into something that reads, at a glance, like it must be based on something real, purely because it's been repeated so many times by so many different accounts. That's really the engine behind almost all of this content. Repetition standing in for evidence. If enough accounts publish the same unverified claim, using nearly identical language, it starts to feel corroborated, even though every single one of those accounts is tracing back to the same original nothing. None of them talked to Leonor. None of them talked to anyone at Zarzuela. Most of them likely didn't talk to anyone at all. They aggregated an existing rumor, added a slightly new angle or a fresh set of hashtags, and republished it, because content about a young, camera-ready future queen with a total information vacuum around her personal life performs extremely well, and performance is the entire business model. It's worth naming why this particular vacuum is so attractive to that machine, compared to other royals. Leonor checks almost every box that makes speculative content profitable. She's young. She's the direct heir to a European throne, which gives international audiences, not just Spanish ones, a reason to care. She has no public account of her own to push back, correct the record, or simply post something mundane that would kill a rumor by being boring. And the institution around her has chosen total silence rather than the occasional denial that some royal households issue when a rumor gets out of hand. Silence, from an aggregator's perspective, isn't a wall, it's an invitation. No statement means no risk of a correction embarrassing the outlet later, and no confirmation means the story never actually ends, so it can be recycled indefinitely. Compare that to how other European monarchies occasionally handle their heirs' personal lives. Some palaces will issue a short, formal denial when a rumor becomes widespread enough to be genuinely damaging or simply too absurd to ignore. That denial usually kills the specific claim, at least among serious outlets, even if fringe content keeps circulating it. The Spanish royal household, at least where Leonor is concerned, doesn't appear to have done this even once. Not for Gavi, not for Gabriel, not for any of the other names that have circulated. That consistency is itself informative. It suggests a household that has decided engaging with any of these stories, even to deny them, gives them more oxygen than simply ignoring them entirely. Every denial is also, implicitly, an admission that the palace is watching and tracking what's said about her romantically, which is exactly the kind of engagement they seem to be trying to avoid. So where does that leave us, as of today, in the second half of 2026? Leonor is 20. She's just finished the most demanding stretch of her institutional preparation, 3 branches of military training completed, a Grand Cross of Aeronautical Merit awarded, and she's about to start a degree in political science at Carlos III University in Madrid this coming September. Her public calendar is full. Her personal life, as always, is not on it. There is no verified partner. There is no verified past relationship, despite years of claims to the contrary. What there is a young woman entering the next phase of a life that will eventually require her to marry under the shadow of a constitutional clause that exists specifically to scrutinize that decision, being raised by parents who handled their own courtship with almost total discretion until they were ready to control the announcement themselves. If history is any guide, and it's really the only guide we have here, we probably won't find out anything real about her personal life through leaks, TikTok theories, or aggregator blogs. We'll find out when Zarzuela decides to tell us, on their own schedule, in their own words, the same way they did with Felipe and Letizia over 2 decades ago. Until then, every revealed boyfriend story you see is worth treating exactly the same way, as content built to fill a silence, not as an actual answer to the question. In this video's title, because right now, genuinely, nobody outside that palace, and possibly nobody but Leonor herself, knows the answer. And the people telling you otherwise almost certainly don't either. A quick note on sourcing for this one. The verified facts in this script: her birth date, the completed military training, the San Javier graduation, the Grand Cross of Aeronautical Merit, the confirmed Carlos III enrollment, the 2024 nightlife photo incident and the reported security response, and the absence of any official statement on her personal life, are all drawn from royal household announcements and mainstream Spanish and international reporting. The Gabriel, and other boyfriend claims are explicitly framed here as unverified rumors circulating on TikTok and aggregator sites, because that's what they are. No outlet with editorial standards has substantiated any of them, and the royal household has never addressed them. The comparison to Felipe and Letizia's pre-engagement discretion, and the explanation of Article 57's parliamentary objection mechanism, are established historical and constitutional record. Everything framed as speculation or interpretation, including the reasoning about why the palace stays silent, is clearly marked as such in the language used.